Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smeltzer.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Chad Smeltzer. I am your host. Today's guest is Jason Mitchell, who's the Public Works Director for the City of Baltimore. Thanks for joining me, Jason.
No, thanks, Chad, for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited, man. I looked at your background, City of Oakland. Now you're at Baltimore. How did you get into Public Works?
Oh, man, that's a great question. It's by accident, right? And I'm not an engineer. So, first thing you think about Public Works, you think of engineer. I'm not one of those. I'm a fiscal guy. I'm a business guy. So, I joined government in the finance sector. So I was just, guy, did debits and credits, did a little HR, soft skill stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then one day I had an opportunity to say, hey, you're a pretty good manager. I think you can go and manage the operations yard.
Yeah.
Like, so what's the operations yard? That's how much knowledge I knew, right? It was like, you go manage our sewers, our storm drains, our illegal dumping, our, park maintenance, all the stuff Public Works do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, let me give it a shot. Right. It sounds like something different. I'm bored. I'm getting bored. I'm a bored accountant. Let me try something outside of my comfort zone, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I went to the service yard, and it's a whole different environment, as you know, from folks behind the computer typing, doing, accounting work for folks out there really doing work on boots on the ground. And so I got my first taste into real public works action doing that operations and kind of fell in love with it. Like, oh man, this is great.
Awesome.
But two, I understood the value of it. For like 3.5 decades of my life, I was like, you asked me what was underground, I'll be like dirt, right? Now I know it's a little bit more under that. And so I got that first taste of it. And then from there, I just grew into the capital side, and then I became a public works director in Oakland, and then now in Baltimore City. And, it was just being comfortable with being uncomfortable, doing something different, right? And learning something different. And, I'm unique in that way. I can sit with my chief financial officer and have a discussion. I can sit with my engineers and have a discussion. And I can also go out in the service yard and have a meaningful discussion and be able to cross over because of all those experiences. But Public Works is just fun. It's just an exciting, thing. We deal with challenges and we fix them.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, look, you're in Baltimore right now. You have 3,000 full-time employees, it looks like.
Yeah, we have 2,800 employees. We have about $1.2 billion budget. And we provide water and wastewater service for about 1/3 of the state of Maryland. So as you can imagine, we're really big. In addition to that, we provide solid waste services. So we pick up your garbage cans, we collect illegal dumping, we do graffiti, your more traditional public works thing.
Yeah.
So we're just a pretty big, one of the biggest in the country, public works department, and we're excited about what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have 1.8 million customers. Is that what?
1.8 million customers.
That's a lot,
so
man. That's a
lot. It's a lot of great customers, but it's a lot of expectations, making sure that they get, to flush the toilets, making sure they get fresh water every day. And many of our customers making sure we pick up their municipal trash. So it's exciting, but it's a challenge, right? Because this day and age, Baltimore, just give a little background for folks that don't know about Baltimore. Maryland is one of, the 13 original colonies. So that means Baltimore is old, right? And so, we had recently what we call a boil water advisory, meaning there was some contamination within our water at 2 locations.
Yeah.
And the issue was some infrastructure damage that caused that. The average age of the infrastructure was 1890.
Wow.
So just think about that. Like, we're dealing with 140-year-old infrastructure in Baltimore. So that's our big challenge is really dealing with that old infrastructure. And it's caused us challenges, but I can tell you, people that built it in the 1800s, for it to last 140 years, they did a good doggone job.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been to Federal Hill. I think it's called
Yeah.
Federal Hill, one of the
Fed
neighborhoods.
Hill, yes,
Woo,
yes, sir.
that's old. It's old.
Oh
I
no.
was down in the basement. I was like, we were going to this like speakeasy bar. I was like, wow, this is an old building, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I love Federal Hill. It was a fun place to hang out. But so I'm gonna go back a little bit. Like you're a unique public works director, being that you have that ability to talk to the operators that are in the ground doing the work, right? And then you also have the government leadership side where you can speak to the leadership and and advise them on like what's happening in public works. Where do you think a lot of public works directors have not done those type of things? I don't think everyone's done that. So what makes like how have you adapted to be able to do that?
No, I mean, when you think of public works, you initially just go, listen, we're going to have a civil engineer
Yeah,
that's going to run this thing, and they're going to build great utility projects. And so, as technology advances, and as we have some great engineers in our organization, what we know, especially in this environment where money is limited, right? Inflation
yeah,
is out of control, and our customers want excellent customer service. We look at our Department of Public Works as an enterprise, a business. How do we
yeah,
run the business of public works, and
yeah,
not so much just a public works department? And so that's critical for us. So, for
yeah,
example, I care about how my customers feel about what we do. So I need to pick up the phone quickly. I need to respond to emails. I need to have a better way to communicate. And that communication is just as critical as building the infrastructure,
oh yeah,
right? Happy customers, happy life, in a sense, right?
true, so
Right?
true.
But two, now that the cost of projects are expensive, a project that was 5 years, a $10 million project, is $20 million today.
Yeah,
And so how do we afford this? How do we get creative in affording these projects, not just building them? It's so critical for us in maintaining our rates. So
yeah,
for us, I don't think it's just me here in Baltimore City or where I was in Oakland that's seeing it. I think you're starting to see a whole shift in this industry, that we need more than just an engineer to build it. And an engineer could have that business mind as well, but we
yeah.
need somebody to have that business acumen and look at this thing and be like, how do we leverage this stuff so that it's a lot cheaper?
Yeah, no, it's 100%. I think that a lot of municipalities or cities, they don't have that business mindset that you bring to the table. That's really unique because it is a business. It is, whatever constituents are in your community, they are your customer. That's what we're here, public service, right? I mean, that's what we do. So I think a lot of cities that can't keep up with the customer demand, so to speak, and they're more reactive, they completely start to drop the ball. And that's where the trust within the community starts to unravel, so to speak, because you're not getting there on time when they're calling to pick up the leaves or they're calling to pick up that. And it seems monotonous, right? But it's things that people want. That's how they want services now, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Not now. They want it right now, right?
Right.
So, and that's critical. And two, one of the things that I recognize and our city recognizes is the way we get paid is to two main things, right? Property
Yeah.
tax and your water bill, right? That's
Yeah.
how it funds our operation. And so if we don't build a good communication, a good level of trust and expectations, when it now costs to build it, you have a customer base that's frustrated. What we want to do is say, hey, we're going to build that trust now. We're going to build that conversation now. So when we do come to the table, you understand why, and that, you may or may not be willing to fund it, but it is a level of trust that's already baked into that conversation. So
Yeah.
they know that they understand why we need to do what we need to do. And mainly is to make sure that when you turn on your faucet, you get a good glass of water, right? And that's the main goal.
Yeah, 100%. And that is what we're here for in public works, and that is the goal for sure. So if we look at the way utilities, let's use water for example, right?
Yep.
How many miles of pipe do you have in the city?
Just water, we have about total for all of our distribution systems, we have, I think, 6,000 miles.
6,000 miles. That's a lot of pipe, man. That's
a
a lot.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and you just think about like how it is for your teams to maintain that, and then non-revenue. What are you guys looking at, with all the non-revenue of water leaks and things like that? How is the city approaching, resolving the non-revenue stuff that's happening?
What we're doing is proactive maintenance. So proactive, preventative, and even for us, predictive maintenance. So that's where we're going. So, back in the day, I used to be like, hey, we're going to do proactive maintenance, right? And we're going to assess that. Well, right now we're now stepping it up, right? And looking at, for us, at least in our industry, predictive maintenance, right? Because for example, I can have a water pipe, right? That's in this part of the city, and you have a high salt content or a lot of things within that soil. So that pipe is going to disintegrate a lot faster than another part of the city. Even though that they're built at the same time, this one may last 60 years. This may last, like we just discussed, 140 years, right?
Right.
And so for us, we need to start looking at, for us, really a different approach of how we want to do our predictive maintenance. And how do we get there, right? And that's the big thing for us, is leveraging technology, right? And so whether it's my storm, whether it's my sewer, whether it's my water pipe, how can I do better leak detection? How do I assess, right, the condition of those assets? How do I put that into a model, a GIS model? How do I put it in modeling? So now if I have $10, I'm going to get this level of return. And I know what that return is, right? And that's going to be the best return that our money can get at that time in the market. And so for us, that's the most critical. It's forget the old school preventative maintenance, right? We need to leverage technology and be in that predictive maintenance. And that's where we're going as an asset. And that's where we're putting our cameras in our lines. That's when we're CCTV. That's where, we're doing a lot of other things that really is giving us asset conditions. Yeah. Not just underground assets. We're looking at it for our water treatment plants, our wastewater treatment plants. How do we extend a useful life, right? Yeah. If I built it, right, if I maintain it decent, right, it's going to last 25, 30 years. Yeah. If I have a huge preventative and predictive maintenance, I may get 60 useful life. Well, that's going to save everybody a lot of money. And so that's what we're doing. And we're leveraging a lot of technology. I think we spoke a little bit before, technology is your utilities friend now. Like, we cannot do this work in silos, right? We got to break down that wall, and we got to really, do that work and use it and leveraging technology. And when we do, we just get better results. For example, we did a lot of pipe replacement. We do 15 miles of pipe replacement for our water utility every year. Okay. Right. Before, it was like, hey, we're just getting in this area and we're going to replace 15 miles. We're like, no, that's not the motto anymore. This area is going to, that asset is going to, based upon our predictive modeling, is going to last longer versus this. Why? Because I know every year when my water main breaks are, I take a condition when it breaks. I look at that area, I see when it's built. We take, soil samples, and now we know a lot more than we just did. Besides, I'm just going to replace some pipe. Right. And that's the level of analysis that we're now digging into.
Love it, man. We need you in every city and across the country, because that's exactly what we need to do. Predictive maintenance is huge in figuring out where the next capital projects are going to be and where to prioritize your budgets, and make sure that we don't have failures like that occur within different cities within our country periodically, with water pump failures and stuff. So you're in the right path. Where have you been able to grab the data, though? Because the data can be spread. I mean, you're talking historically too. You look at engineering firms that have had work done in Baltimore City. Maybe there's multiple different types of engineering firms. Like, that data is kind of spread out. How have you been able to find all that information about those, the 6,000 miles of distribution, and figure out which ones are going to be needing the most repairs? Is that still fragmented? It's like, what's the data look like?
Yeah, it's still a little fragmented. So you just think about how we started, right? With old maps, right?
Yeah, I know.
And just scanning maps into a system, right? And so that, and then the second piece for that is now using that map to update our GIS system and what we know when people pull permits, the age of it. And then what we done as our data points, then we overlay that with our operational software, right? And say, okay, what has happened over the useful time that we've had, say, CityWorks, right?
Yeah.
And we say, okay, we had this software for 12 years. This is what 12 years of data tells us about it, right? This is where overflows are happening. This is where storm drains are flooding. This is where water mains are breaking. This is where valves are having issues, right?
Yeah.
And we look at all that information, right? And then we also are doing inspections now. So every year we're expecting a certain mileage in our system. And now we're pulling that information into it. What are we seeing? What deterioration are we seeing? How is our manholes looking? How is this looking, right?
Yeah.
And we're just laying data on top of data. And what we have done, right? And I can't say me, I'm a finance guy, so I don't do any of this stuff. They then take all that data and analytics and put it into a dashboard and business analytics, they call it around here. They just give me maps and graphs, but they give me that, and they're saying based upon all that modeling, right, this is what we need to do. And then two, in Baltimore, we're laying another layer on top of that, and that's equity.
Ooh.
So that's a huge thing for us, right? So it's where we're now going to do it. So more disadvantaged neighborhoods that hasn't had a traditional a lot of capital, we then layer equity on top of that. So we have many layers. How it all comes together is through these great dashboards that our IT folks create for us with all the experience that these engineers and GIS folks are given. So what we found out, there can't be silos. So anybody that ran a public works agency, and everywhere I go, right, there's always engineers and maintenance folks. The maintenance folks said, you give me something that doesn't make sense. And the engineers say, the maintenance folks, they ain't give me anything. What we try to tear down that wall is engineer and maintenance people are in the room together with our GIS people, with our IT people, and we're making decisions together because everyone sees it from a different perspective. And the more we get in, the better results. And so we're just trying to, I won't say it's perfect, but we're trying every year to better that. And as we get more data, we're making better, more educated decisions.
Yeah. Hey, what has been some of the bigger challenges of doing that? Because it's a massive undertaking, obviously.
Yeah.
So I would assume like getting training in place for your employees to actually start inputting the data, and then if they've been around a long time, maybe they don't want to switch to the iPad, that kind of thing. What are some of the struggles you've had since implementing this, predictive maintenance and system?
Yeah, so just initially right now, our biggest struggle, is getting equipment, right? With the supply chain challenges, getting a car, getting a CCTV van, getting a vac truck, getting, a construction truck. It's taking a garbage truck. It's taking us 2-3 years to get some of that. So from some of it is just supply chain challenges for us. But two, again, to your point, adopting to new technology. We have folks that, never turned on a computer in their lives, right? Now you want me to hold an iPad and just be functional? So that was a big challenge. And we're in a labor environment, so we have to work with our labor group. So training being patient. In some cases, adjusting our operational crews with someone that's not as technology driven and have that mindset to somebody that is. And so even adjust our operations to meet that. And then last is time.
Yeah.
Every year we're getting better, but with the infrastructure the size that we have, it's going to take a decade and a half to continue to get data. So we have to, and we don't know what we don't know. So it's time is I want to do it all today, right? But there's not enough money or resources to do that. So time is really something that we just have to be patient with.
Yeah. I mean, look, the size of your system, 6,000 miles of water main, and then it sounds like you're replacing 15 miles, but it sounds like the budget has it in there to replace 15 miles, but now you're being more proactive and getting predictive analysis. You're going out and fixing what needs to be repaired first, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
And even at 6,000 miles of water main, it's still a long road to repair that. I think we're finding that the degradation of the infrastructure is so fast now. You're talking about time, right? It's like, okay, well, the water system's starting to fall apart faster, more leaks, more repairs. Are you seeing that trend? Like you're finding more repairs, like spot repairs, for water main leaks and stuff. Where do you think we could get more funding? Like how's because we're going to need it. Obviously there's a lot of pipe. I mean, and I don't think you can have enough taxpayers to pay enough higher rates to do that. How do you think we can, encourage maybe some better funding?
No, I mean, for us, when we look at our pipe, we're looking at our water, we're looking at our sewers, and we're looking at storms. So, it's significant. And to your point, funding is a challenge, right? We can't pass all this on to our ratepayers as their utility bill wouldn't be affordable. And so the president, as you know, a year and a half or so ago, released the infrastructure bond, our infrastructure measure. That's really putting infrastructure as a forefront of what he's doing as a president, not only to build the economy and create more jobs, but to rebuild, if you will, the foundation of America, if you will. Streets, roads, bridges, water systems, storms, sewer systems. And so for us, it's critical that, we continue to work with our federal partners. We're in the state of Maryland. Some of that passed through the state of Maryland. So really work with our state of Maryland partners, but also keep this conversation at the forefront, because when you see infrastructure also, and you hear it with all the presidents, right?
Yeah.
They talk about roads and bridges, right? And I'm like, no, it's more. We got to say roads, bridges, and then we have to talk about water, sewer, and storm infrastructure, right? Because that's critical as well. When you see some of the major challenges that have happened in some major cities around water, right? It was because of old systems, right? A lot of it was disinvestment. And what we want to do is be in the forefront of our investment. And we have to partner in that. And so I've been in DC a lot on this, but I believe that there's a huge interest in this administration, and there's a huge interest at the state level to really help push this. So we're excited about it, and excited about the opportunity to be able to do upgrades. We know it won't solve all the issues, but everything helps, right?
It does. Yeah. Everything does, for sure. You're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, in communities that are disadvantaged, right? And I look at it as a way we could take infrastructure and give back to the communities. All we got to do, you said, like running like a business, right? We have to give them an opportunity in them, as in, teaching them about business, running a business, developing a business, and that disadvantaged areas, we need to bring those communities up. And I think we can leverage infrastructure and predictive analysis as a way to do that. And we'll talk about that off the podcast, but I got some ideas. But I think, what you're doing is awesome, because we're talking about, fixing infrastructure, predictive analysis, but also diversity, equity, inclusion, and helping out these disadvantaged communities. Right. So I think that if we can get the federal funding to do these repairs and replacements and things like that in these areas, we can really start to make a difference in bringing the economies up, like you're talking about, man. It's true. It's like we can, bring back the city, so to speak, where they're old, they just don't have the right infrastructure in their old buildings and things like that, but we can use that as a way to come back. How do you think we could, fix some of the labor shortages that you're dealing with in public works right now?
Wow, that's a great question, because we struggle with that. And like I say, 1 out of every 4 of our positions are vacant. We need people. So I'm going to shameless plug, baltimorecity.gov, go to HR, sign up for a job. We got a lot of jobs for you. So come on and be a part of our team. But when you look at it, so for example, myself, I'm going to take myself as example. For 3 decades plus, I didn't know what public works was. Public works never came to my school and said this was a great profession. I had lawyers, I had doctors, I had police officers, firefighters, but no one from public works said this would be a great job working in the water industry.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is let people know that we exist. That number one, this is a great career.
Yeah.
Number two, that you can have a great life off of this career. And number three, I think is most important, it will be around as long as you're in existence. You're not going to live without water. You're not going to live without sewer. You're not going to live without garbage or storm. You need that infrastructure to run any civilized society. So let folks know we don't do a lot of layoffs, right? So it's this is a great thing. So come here and really get a great job and a great career. And so I think for us, we have to start younger.
Mm-hmm.
When someone grows up, they like, I want to be a garbage person. I want to work in our laboratories. I want to be a biology person and test our water quality. I want to be a construction worker and dig up and replace pipes. Yeah. And so if we start that at an early age, we have more talent pool that will recognize us as a true career and may want to come and join our ranks. And I think if we start earlier on and really do that and create workforce opportunities, will be great. My son is in cybersecurity, right? So cybersecurity is everything. My son is really excited about it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunities now to do that because, we all know we're going to need that in the future. We just have to have that same level of commitment and energy and education for utility space as well, because as we age out and people age out, there's a lot of opportunities, but with that institutional knowledge coming and not new knowledge coming on board, it's going to be a struggle for us in these utilities.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's probably one of that's why we're in this situation now. Boomers retired. So my kids call me a boomer still. I'm not even a boomer. They still call me a boomer. But anyway, the boomers are retiring and, we got that intellectual knowledge leaving, and now we're relying on technology, right?
Correct.
The data that you're talking about and making better analysis on where to make repairs and replacement stuff. So if we have all these things going on and, we're struggling to bring on labor, do you think, and I brought this up before, do you think we should maybe represent like public works as an employee as a different type, like a technology position or maybe just a first responder? I've talked about that before. Like, what do you think we could do to make it more attractive? It's just, I don't know. I think there's a better way.
No, I think those are both great examples. The way we're leveraging technology is a lot different. We have laptops in the car. We got iPads on it. We have a lot of data and sensors in our system that's giving us information. Yeah. So from a technology standpoint, it's great. And two, from a cybersecurity, we have an intentional effort to protect our water source from attacks too. So there's a lot of technology things that you could do in this arena that is excellent. We are a first responder. We don't respond to fires or crime activity, but we respond to water main breaks. Right, that's a critical function. And so having highlight the importance of it, right, just like a firefighter, a police officer, public works, we all should be working in any municipality together to tell that story. But I think the most critical piece that people don't get here is that this is a rewarding career.
Yeah.
And you could build a great life off of this. And one of the things I was telling some of our apprenticeship just the other day is that it's not just in Baltimore that you built that career.
Yeah.
These skill sets can be taken throughout the world because everybody needs this infrastructure. So you're creating a skill set that is now unlimited in scope on how you can sell it. And so that's the reason why we're in this space, right? Because we see a lot of opportunities, and we just have to let people see it through the same eyes in which we're seeing it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on. I think it's just a place we're in right now where we need to change it, and then obviously make it more attractive. We'll get more of the young professionals in public works, and then we'll start making a difference. It's just this little gap we have. What do you think about the with all this infrastructure money coming in, and then all the contractors that are available? We have a shortage there too. How do you think we're going to be able to fix that gap or bridge that gap of like construction companies, limited resources there, and all this projects that are going to come up in the future?
We got to get folks to be entrepreneurs. I mean, I think for us it's critical. So we're actually, me and the mayor, I think tomorrow or Thursday, we're having a press conference, what we call unbundling our contracts.
Oh,
So for what we're doing is, say for example, a public works contract is worth $10 million. There's very limited folks that can, what we say, get bonding approved to be able to do that type of contract.
right.
So it limits the pool that can bid on it, and thus not a lot of competition. We don't have a lot of competition. Costs can creep up.
Right.
And so what we're doing is unbundling. We're going to break that $10 million contract into 5 $2 million contracts.
Love it.
And then we're going to teach these smaller firms how to be primes.
Yeah.
So that we can create a bigger marketplace for us in Baltimore City, in the Baltimore region.
Yeah.
And so that project is commencing. We'll be going out to RFQ this summer.
Okay.
And we'll begin that. And what we're doing is just creating more generals so that they can bid on our contract. And what we're doing is keeping our pushing and breaking up some of our contracts so that it's manageable for our contractor. And we're doing that to your point, so that we can get better pricing and better competition for us. So it won't help us so much in the short term because it's going to take time for training. But we see this 3 or 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
That now I can introduce another 5 GCs, general contractors, in our area. They're local, and then maybe we can get better pricing. And then from an economic standpoint, when we start looking at finance, that money circulates within the Baltimore City economy. So not only is the general contractor doing well, now you have more people working on site, more professional service people getting contracts, more folks doing trucking, and they live in the area, and the dollars are circulating in our area. So we're looking at it from a bigger economic standpoint as well.
There you go. Yeah. No, Jason, that's 100%. That's it. That's economic sustainability that you're talking about. That's it.
Absolutely.
100% what needs to be done. And it's amazing that it was taking us this long to get to that point. But you got these massive contracts. You can't get bonding. No one wants to bid on the contract. And here's the other thing is we take one thing like repair manholes, I can just use that, and we mash it up with street repairs or street reconstruction or pipeline replacement and all into one bid. And I'm like, you isolated yourself. Like no one's going to bid on it. You got too many things in there. So breaking it up and unbundling, like you said, is a great idea.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think the only other thing you would have to worry about is like, accountability, like who's going to manage all that, who's going to oversee that kind of stuff. Cause that's a lot of work and to make sure the projects are getting done on time. And how do you envision like the oversight on that?
Yeah. So we're creating a PM, extra PM just for that, because what we know is we're going to have some contractors that are not as strong in the administrative piece, right? They're going to need that support. We got to make sure that we pay them on time because, sometimes government's a little late on that. So we got to make sure that we pay them on time. And then we have to make sure that PM is tight and there's accountability so that people are showing up when they need so that these projects don't get delayed. And that's where the focus is on that success. So this pilot is going to be looking at some of the positives and negatives of that so that as we try to expand that out into a lot of different areas within, that we expand it out with some case study so that we do it right. And we don't start this big thing, right? And then it blows up and then no one ever wants to do it again, right?
Yeah,
so
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, we want to start small, see what the success and failures are. But our first critical thing was we're going to need to really structure this PM program, project management program, very strongly and put in additional resources there so that we can do that. Now, where do we get the money to pay for that PM short and long term? Is because I'm going to get more competitive bids and my engineering costs are going to be down. So I'm going to be able to put a little bit more administrative work into it to cover that cost. So we're looking at it. I mean, we're trying to look at this thing at a bigger level so that we can be competitive. I mean, we just did a project. Engineering estimate was $60 million.
Yeah.
Right? The low bid came in at 88. Right. So, those things paying for, PM is nothing if I can get that cost down. Right.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing what inflation is doing to all the costs.
So inflation is killing us in so many ways. It's not just so much the cost of all this stuff is now we dealing with the cost of capital with interest rates. So get revenue bonding and bonding this out. So you're getting double dings. You're getting the cost of borrowing money is going up high, and then the cost of the projects themselves are going up high.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's taking a toll on all the utilities, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is say, well, let's prepare for it now, right?
Yeah.
And let's make sure that we have a 3 to 5 year plan that's going to push out and drive some of those costs down. So to your point, how do I create more competition in this space?
Well, we need more information on the private side too, like what the costs are. Are they paying their bills? Are they, the employees that they have on staff, are they certified? That kind of stuff. Are they handling their, money and, business correctly and able to provide the service to the city too? That's the other thing, got to think about. How comes, I just got a curious question. You're talking about bringing on another project manager. Would you bring on an engineering firm to do that kind of stuff, or would you just hire an independent person, maybe project manager wise?
No, we have someone with an engineering background for us to do that work because we need that unique skill set. Yeah. Someone that really understands, the project, the drawings, the schedules of that project, so that it can go smoothly.
I got a question for you. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, hit me.
If it just because they have a PE in their name, and I'm not saying engineers are engineers. You have to have them. But if you have someone with 20, 30 years, 40 years of experience doing that type of work, why couldn't they be a project manager?
They could. Okay. I mean, look at me.
I was just curious.
Look at me. I mean, come on. I'm
with you. I don't have a PE. I'm like, I think I know some stuff,
For the way we're looking at it this first go round, and so for us, we're starting out with just replacing of water mains. Why? Yeah. Because from an engineering standpoint, that's kind of the easiest type of underground digging job that we have within our portfolio.
Right.
So we're going to start out with the easiest first. To your point, the reason why we have an engineering program for us to start out just because of the nuances of where we're at with these projects. And we just, for us, we want this thing to be very successful.
Right.
So we'll be looking at all those things as we do a, hot wash during this process, because that's the first thing that, we're looking at. Number one, making sure that we get performance, even if one of these subs are one of these what we call junior GCs fail, we need to make sure performance is happening, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that they're meeting the Green Book standards and our standards within our plans and specifications. So we're putting a lot more emphasis than you may not as it matures. But again, it's all to make sure that we see success with all the participants in this program.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's awesome. Well, we're running out of time, and I wish we had more time to talk, Jason. I love talking to you, and I think we can talk for a couple hours for sure. But to kind of end it, how can people get a hold of you? What's a good way to reach out? Like, especially when you're hiring, like where to go. I think you dropped the website a little bit earlier, but go for it, man.
BaltimoreCity.gov. Click on our HR section. On our website, you'll see a whole lot of jobs. Please, go and look for jobs where they're available. All of my contact information is there. I just say, for whether you choose Baltimore City or any municipality, this is a good space to work in. It's done very well for me and my family, and I think it'll do well for you and your family as well. This is just an excellent career that will be around for your children's life, because this water is so important. But two, when we start now looking at the sustainability of this utility, that's taking us to a whole nother realm. How do we do waste to energy? How do we deal with tides and going up? How are we dealing with sustainability from a financial? So you're going to enter this space in so many different ways. It's just not an engineering. It's just not a construction. There's so many ways you can enter this space. And I say, come join the team in Baltimore City. We'll be looking forward to having you in. And Chad, I just appreciate you taking the time out to really helping showcase Baltimore City as a beautiful city and showcasing some of the stuff we're doing.
Yeah, man, I thank you. And truly humbled to have you on here and talk about the awesome things going on in Baltimore. The crab cakes. I miss the crab cakes. That's
Come
one
on
thing
now.
I really
Yeah,
miss.
the blue crabs.
I gotta get down there. The Orioles, the Ravens are awesome. So you guys got a great sports town, and it's a great place to visit. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.